Well, hello. We have right at the top of the hour. My name is Jessica Zarrow, and thank you for joining us today for Supporting for Success. This is the first of our Koha webinar series, and today we're going to focus on Koha's top features. Now, as we go through our webinar today, please feel free to use the chat box to ask any questions that you may have as we are going through the presentation. At the end, we'll hold some time for Q&A if you have any questions as well. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared afterwards on demand. And if you have any colleagues that weren't able to make it today, you can absolutely share that with them. So to kick things off, we will start talking about some of Koha's great features that make it one of the best ILSs, in my opinion, out there. So the first thing to know about Koha is it is a web-based open source ILS. Koha was the first ever web-based software system in the library industry. It was developed back in 2000 in New Zealand, and since then it has been brought here to the US and beyond as a really flexible ILS. Bywater Solutions supports it as a SaaS system, so you are able to truly be able to just jump on a browser, log in, and utilize that staff client. It's also built on Bootstrap, which is a responsive theme, meaning that that staff interface can be used if you're doing outreach within the library. And of course, it's accessible, meeting the standards to provide access to Koha and users everywhere. The second feature I always like to talk about is the user experience. Now, Koha puts the control of the user in the hands of the patron rather than the hands of a disconnected vendor. Koha was developed by librarians for librarians back in 2000, and today you have librarians, developers, and users collaborating to make Koha what it is. Some of my most favorite recent features are those suggested by librarians and users that are using the product every day. Koha has a wonderful team that volunteers to bring all of those resources and documentation and development pieces that make Koha a great ILS. The next thing we'll talk about, of course, is Circ and patron management. You know, what's driving our day-to-day activities and interactions with our patrons, other than Koha being a customizable product for your library workflows. With Circ and Patrons modules, you're able to customize layouts, limit fields, create a customized look for when you're collecting that data from the patron, and be able to quickly search to find information for those users within the system. Next, we have our technical services and ERM. Staff can easily navigate through Koha's acquisitions, cataloging, authorities, serials, and of course, electronic resource modules right within the web-based system. Tools for technical services effortlessly connect to each other within the system. So whether I'm bringing in records from one of my book jobbers, or I just need to do some batch edits, all of those can be done right within one platform. One of our most recent enhancements was the addition of an electronic resource module, which now allows you to keep track of all of your electronic subscriptions within the systems, licenses, databases, and of course, if you get any of those Counter 5 reports from your vendors, you can bring those right in. Which of course leads us to our next top feature, reporting. Who doesn't love a good report and analytics to make sure that your users are getting the most out of the system? This allows you to come in and view that information right within the system. Now, Koha is open source, meaning that you can view the schema. So in essence, you can pull from any table within Koha and analyze that information. We want to make sure that accurate data is the key to showing your constituents board members, trustees, friends of the library, the true value that your library brings to the community that you support. And then finally, integrations. In my eyes, I think the integrations in Koha are incredible. The Koha developers and community work really hard to make sure that there are robust APIs and SIP integrations so that you can work with other vendors out there and integrate with products that you know work great. That way, your ILS can do the heavy lifting and integrate with products that do great things like RFID, self-check, discovery, and more. Koha does act as a Z3950 target. We are SIP2 compliant, and we also support ILSDI in SIP for ILL integration and OAI PMH for harvesting data, and of course, an extensible REST API. Now that we talked about all these great features, let's take a minute and transition over to the Koha staff interface, and we'll talk just about some of our favorite features. For those of you on the call today, I see a lot of familiar faces that are Koha users. Thank you for joining us. And then, of course, I see some that are new, and this might be the first time that you're exploring Koha, or maybe you're thinking about making the switch. What you're seeing here today is the main landing page for Koha. The staff interface is the place where all the interactions take place. Whether you're getting ready to register a family within the system and you're setting up a new account, or you just purchased some records from Ingram and you want to bring in those MARC records into the system. This is the starting place. One thing I really appreciate as a librarian is the ability to customize things. So in my prior role, before coming to Bywater Solutions, I was a librarian for a consortium in Florida, and I did a lot of training. And one thing that I really love is the ability to customize the resources that your library has put together or that are available through a vendor or the community to make it easy for staff. You'll see over here, we've customized a few links that go out so users can view those videos or resources. Koha also has a tool that allows you to create pages right within the system. This is a recent feature that I really like because you can come in and build whatever you want. Maybe you want to put your annual report in there for staff to read. Maybe you want to collect staffed resources and build out a page. Maybe you want to push something out onto the OPAC. Those are all viable options that you can come in and do right within the Koha system. Whether you use the WYSIWYG editor that's provided, or you want to just use straight HTML, both are options. Remember, Koha is translatable in over 70 different languages. So if you want to have a translation appear for one of those languages within your staff interface, you can easily turn that information on. Now, let's head back to our main staff interface and we'll talk a little bit about navigation. I feel that's really important because as consumers, we live in a web-based society, whether we're grocery shopping or ordering something or registering our children or our parents or whatever the scenario is for an activity, we're doing that online. And I love that Koha has always been a web-based system and it just gets better every release to make it easy for staff to navigate throughout the system. So as we start here on the main page, you'll notice that we can just jump right into checkout. From here, I can either scan the patron's barcode or I can type in the individual's name. You'll also see it's really easy that I can start the check-in process. So whether, a patron walked up to the front desk, dropped some books off, or I'm unloading the book drop, I can come in and begin that process here as well. I can search for patrons, either by a general search, or if I'm looking for something specific, I can do that as well. I can search any field, including all phones. So if they forgot their library card or left their phone in the car, and you just want to look them up by phone number, you can do that too. Finally, we have that great search. And that allows you to search both by keyword and, of course, narrow down within the system. Now, since we're on the topic of search, I do want to point out that Koha has both an advanced search as well as an item search. And these are great tools. And the item search is one of my favorite top features of Koha that really allows you to narrow down. The item search is great because it not only acts as a search, but also a list and a report that enables your staff members to essentially pull information within the system, whether they're looking for something specific on a shelving location, or perhaps they want to populate a missing list so they can scan the shelves and see if it was returned or it's just misplaced. This is a great place for them to start where they can come in here and find that information. There's easy tools which allow you to copy a shareable link to share with a colleague, or of course, export it right from the system. Now, jumping back to our main screen, circulation. Let's talk about the features. If for some reason your connection goes down, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, however you're connecting, Koha does have an offline circulation tool. That way, you can ensure that staff can still check things in and out to your patrons if that is a solution that you need. This is also where your staff members will manage all of your holds within the system and monitor all of those holds that are awaiting pickup. For patron management, staff can easily come in and browse by last name, come in, create a new patron within the system with a customized list of the fields, both required and not required, to make them a patron account within the Koha system. During that implementation process, our skilled Bywater Solution team members will work with your library to ensure that we have all of the fields that you need to collect the data within the system. This is also a great resource for staff members if they need to merge duplicate patrons or if you just want to modify some patrons within the system. With the correct permission set for staff, they can come in here and do all of those actions. Now let's talk a little bit about technical services. With Koha, cataloging is a breeze. We can connect to outside sources, whether it's OCLC or BTCat or even SkyRiver. You also have the ability to connect via Z3950. This allows you to set your targets that you want to search for and bring copies of records into the system. Koha has both a basic and an advanced editor. These basic and advanced editors use frameworks which allow you to set up templates to make it easy for cataloging. The advanced editor also includes the ability to bring in macros and run macros within the system, as well as settings that allow each cataloger to set their text and font size. You'll also find keyboard shortcuts available, and of course, keyboard layouts for cataloging within the system. In cataloging, you'll also find tools to export and import data into the system. So again, if you're bringing in records from an outside source, an inventory tool that allows you to either bring in a set of barcode files, scan them, or use that inventory wand within the system. In the center, you'll see ways to batch edit. This is a great way for you to come in, modify records in bulk or batch, and then of course, finally, tools. This is where you'll be able to print all of your labels, whether it's spine labels or barcode labels within the system. Serials. For those of you that are managing any print serials within the system, Koha's module allows you to keep track of those subscriptions. It allows you to come in, keep track of the planning, noting what the frequency and of course the numbering pattern is, and then making it easy for your staff members to come in and receive that information. During the receiving process, staff will note what's late or what's expected, and then of course go through the process of checking that item in. Koha can handle both items that are created from a serial or itemless check-in for subscriptions. By building prediction patterns, it fills in the easy fields, making it easy to check all of that information in within the serials process. There is a claims module, which allows you to go directly in so you can claim material from the vendor itself. If you don't want to send the claim from Koha, you can absolutely download the selected claims and send it to the vendor in another format. Koha is completely customizable, so you can manage your frequencies and numbering patterns within the system, as well as build your own subscription fields. So if you're collecting certain information, you can map it to a mark field and collect that as well. Now, complementary to serials, we have our e-resource management. This allows us to keep track of any of our agreements, licenses, and e-holdings within the system. Here, staff will be able to see terms and conditions for those particular databases or titles within the system, as well as utilize the e-usage module. This allows you to either manually upload Counter 5 reports, or if one of your vendors has sushi capabilities, which is the harvesting of data, you can set that up to bring those reports directly into your Koha system. Once those reports have been saved, you can go through and run monthly or annual reports, looking at those article and database requests within the system. Authorities. Koha has an authorities module that allows you to connect directly out to the Library of Congress names or subject headings within the system, as well as create your own unique authorities within the system. Here you will find frameworks or templates that allow staff to fill that information out. Staff will also be able to see authorities within the system, and then from here, be able to edit, merge, or make changes and preview the mark information for those authorities. The authorities module will also show you the number of records that that authority is using within the system, so they can easily navigate and see those connected authorities to the bib records within the system. To round off technical services, we'll talk about acquisitions. Now, acquisitions allows you to connect to outside vendors using either EDI or Edifact ordering, as well as customizing those 9XX fields to bring it in order data. On the main screen of acquisitions, you'll see the ability to either search your vendors, search for orders, or give a quick look at your fiscal year spending and your budget. Here, staff will be able to see a live view of the totals that are connected to each fund. Additionally, what's been ordered and what's been spent. They can click on each one of those and it will give them a great breakdown of all of the information, including those original order numbers, the vendor it's connected to, item type, and of course, order information. Within your budgets and funds, you'll also be able to jump right into any of those funds so you can analyze a little more information, as well as edit or make any changes within the system. For vendor management, you can come in and track all information tied to that particular vendor. Let's take a look at Baker & Taylor. In our account here, we'll be able to see all of the vendor details, contact information, aliases, as well as vendors that are tied to that particular company within the system. So whether it's an EDI rep or an ordering representative, I can see all of that information in one place. Here, I'll also be able to identify acquisitions contacts, if they receive orders or claims for late orders. Down below, you'll be able to see that ordering information, as well as any interface logins, whether it's a place you go to order, submit support tickets, log into an FTP site to download files, or of course, a statistical site. This is a great place to keep all of this information in one spot. At the bottom, you'll also be able to see any subscriptions that are connected to that vendor within the system. Finally, we have ordering and receiving. Again, Koha is EDI or EDIFACT compliant. If you aren't using EDI or EDIFACT with your vendors, you can absolutely come in, create orders within the system, and then attach those records to that particular basket. Koha uses the terminology basket to identify a group of orders within the system. Here, staff will be able to see the items that were ordered, any information about the cost, tax, budgeted cost, replacement prices, quantity, the fund that it's tied to. And in this case, we've already received it, so I can see the invoice link and the ability to place a hold. You'll notice if I click on that title, once we come in here, I'll also be able to see information for titles that may be on an order status, as well as a tab for acquisitions details. And this is a great way for non-acquisitions users to be able to come in and see that information, whether they want to see if it's been ordered or when it's come in within the system. You also have the ability to print off some tracking slips. And this is a great way to be able to tie something, if you want to print it off, directly to the order within the system. Now, within acquisitions, you'll also see the ability to look at orders that might be late within the system. This is where you'll also manage your suggestions. So if you allow your patrons to make purchase suggestions, you will see that information here, where staff can monitor that information within the system. Additionally, within acquisitions, you'll be able to manage invoices and search for them within the system, whether it's by date, vendor, or a unique identifier within that invoice itself. And then, of course, finally, EDI or EDIFACT ordering. We will connect your system to an outside source so you can send that information back and forth. Now, reports, some of my favorite things. Reports are a great way for you to be able to analyze your data within the system. Because Koha is open source, you can view the database schema directly within the system, viewing all of those tables. All Koha reports are derived from SQL, where you're building select statements. And there's a couple different ways that you can create reports. Whether it's a guided report, a report that you're writing SQL from, or a search on the Mana database, which is a collection of reports that have been created by users and shared to pull a copy in within the system. Once reports are created, they'll be saved to your saved library. This is where staff will be able to come in and either run reports manually, or of course, can schedule with a Bywater staff member to run daily, weekly, or monthly within the system. You can customize your tabs. So if you're looking for something specific, in this case, let's say collection development, or maybe you're getting ready to run your state reports, this is a great way to be able to come in here and run those reports quickly and easily within the system. Here, staff will be able to select that, and it will give them a quick live look. Now, this was a pretty easy report. We were just asking the system to tell us the total bibliographic record count within the system, and it brings back that number, 25,927. So again, reports are very powerful, easy to run within your system, and during the implementation process, our skilled education team will work with you to make sure that you have the reports that you need in your system when you go live. Our tools module within Koha allows you to essentially perform actions. So think about things like setting up your notices and slips within the system, whether you're emailing out about a membership renewal or notifying them of a late item. This is where you can customize notifications for your Koha system, which talks about great integrations. Koha can send out, of course, email or phone, print, or SMS messages. For SMS and phone, we recommend working with third-party vendors, which we have a great list and partnership with on our website. Also in tools, you'll see options to do customizations within your platform, view logs, and of course, customize that calendar. And to wrap things up, we'll talk a little bit about administration. During the implementation process for Koha, we'll work with you to identify and create and build your Koha system. And administration, you'll be identifying things like defining your libraries or branches, setting up your material types or item types, and setting up specific categories and data via your authorized values. Here's where you'll also define your circ and fine rules. Now, if you're part of a larger system, you'll also be able to set up those rules for each individual branches. Administration also includes the ability to customize catalog and record data, as well as acquisitions and accounting, and additional parameters, which would include those Z39 targets, any type of OAI repositories, and then any additional fields that you're collecting within the system. If you are interested in looking at options that Koha has, you can come to our website, bywatersolutions.com, and under services, view some of those supported hosting integrations. So whether you're thinking about making the switch or you're looking for integrations that are currently available within the Koha system, we have a list here that you can view. For those that are thinking about making the switch, and you would like to view library partners that we currently support, you'll be able to see those here as well. And you can narrow down by specific types of libraries, and that'll give you a great overview of who we support. Each one of these links will take you out to their Koha UPAC or, of course, Aspen Discovery interface, where you can view that information. I want to thank you for joining us today for our presentation on some of Koha's top features within the system. There are lots of options for your ILS that you can work with, and we hope that you can join us for another one of our webinars within our Supporting for Success webinar series. Kate, Adam, Elise, and I will be working through the next 6 months as we talk about all things Koha, Aspen, Metabase, and LibKey. That QR code will take you directly out to the registration page where you can see all of those that are available. I will also throw a link into chat where you can view that information within the system and register for any of those upcoming events that we have in our Supporting for Success webinar series. For those of you that are thinking about making the switch, you can contact Adam Brooks and he would be happy to set up a personalized demonstration of Koha for you. We'll work with your staff and talk about the needs of your library while making that switch. Thank you for joining us today for our Supporting for Success webinar series, Koha's Top Features. Have a great day.